Hey, many of us are becoming more conscious and are confused. They're asking questions all the time. Not simply just with me, but I'm seeing it like everywhere in social media. Is consciousness the same as being awakened? It's not black and white, so I don't want to say yes and no. I don't want to work within that realm as in checkers, so let's work with chess. Because it's not about me being right or me just simply offering a perspective. It's about you being able to use your divine feminine, male and female, like I don't mean gender, your divine feminine, your right side of the mind, to see things now in the creative cycle, just like a chess player would. Or if you're into sports or you play basketball or play baseball, you know that game face, you know how like once you already have all the checker pieces or the chess pieces together and you're like learning the game, you could win or lose, but you already know how to understand the energy of the other opponent or the other party working with you. There's like an energy that of a sense of camaraderie between all of you, even if they're your opponents. Well, that's what it is. That is the realm. That is actually your true sense of communicating. That's why a lot of athletes can connect a lot quicker than most people. Seriously, doesn't matter if you go to church or not. Honestly, becoming more conscious, most athletes are more tapped into more of their higher sense, or they have more of electromagnetic conduction because of the physical work that they put in, the discipline, the focus within themselves, right? You know, you could even argue that Einstein and Tesla were using their highest mind, but they weren't awakened. You can critically argue that, so you can kind of like look at perspectives for those who are questioning. When you become awakened, it's not necessarily a choice. It's a state of arriving. It's a death, by all means. And the experience varies vastly for each individual's journey. Yet the pearl of the awakening is, how you would say, it's not separate from each individual. To be awakened can mean a lot of things. You're a Shaolin monk. You're born and raised in a higher conscious way of working spirituality, or you're working in some Hindu temple and you were living there for like 20 years of life, and all of a sudden you have an awakening, right? You can choose to stay, but there's a big part of you that just wants to check out, and you need to go deeper into that. So many would argue hermit mode is an example. The light's hitting me harder. Hermit mode is an example. For those that see you from the outside in, it's hermit mode. For you, it's because you see no longer a separation. You can probably look at the biblical scripture as in Moses, how he ascended into like or he came from the higher sense or the mountains, and he came to descend and then messed everything up with people, and people messed everything up with him. Then he had to go back up there, right? As an example, right? But seeing things and no longer being separate is that you no longer have to exist as a human. And that becomes the challenge, because once you awaken, you come into a remembrance. The fragments now start to make sense, yet you still need to continue to receive more. Now you understand that remembering is to put back together again, to remember. So we're living almost as fragments in this reality, and to be awakened is to know that just by simply sitting with yourself and in your way, in divine timing, those fragments will come into your reality, and your breath will allow everything to make sense. And I say your breath because as humans, and you're still in your physical vessel, you utilize the elemental factors as in wind, fire, water, and what is that? Earth, Mother Earth. And we are here as alchemists living in, not thinking we have any kind of role as humans. And that's where the separation is. And those that start to see how, yes, we were created, but we were created to create simply by breathing, by living. We are creating. Go into biology and look at cell structures and look at how every single second, every day, depending on where in your body, your cells are living and dying, rebirthing and dying. They're creating and destroying. Your breath, carbon dioxide, oxygen, death and life. But death to you, as I said in past, is life to the tree. Once you start seeing, you start changing what was programmed to you as what living and dying is. So you need to go deeper. You need to eliminate, or you feel the need to eliminate anything or anyone that is not in alignment with you. Even angels, even guides. That's why when you become awakened, even the angels are expanding the same. They graduate and there becomes another set of protectors and guides and overseers such as yourself in a different frequency because you're not separate from them. And that's what you're starting to see. And once you start to see, then you start remembering, some slowly, some quickly, how to communicate once again, that your communication is no longer just with you and your inner journey, or with you with another loved one, or just a friend. And that's where you start to understand sanity and insanity, because what's insanity, which what's defined here in this reality, is what's going to get tested, because you're going to have to break out of that box of creation. And that's what they call the inorganic matrix versus the organic matrix of how we all communicate, as far as this technology of experience to be able to even live within this reality and called Earth. And if you want to go deeper with all that, what I'm saying, I do offer life coaching, one-on-ones. PM me so we could go intimate into your journey. It's not about you just trusting me and my words. It's about that you resonate with yourself in a higher regards. And the reason why is because it doesn't get easier when you awaken. Because once you awaken, it's easy to fall into different realities. And that's part of your experience as well. Because you're never going to feel ready, even if you thought you were. So the separation between being awakened and becoming more conscious, right, are two different perceivable worlds. But they're not, because you need to be first completely more conscious. You need to be able to activate all of your sensory systems. You need to be able to activate your entire chakra system. And in Chinese medicine, the 3 burners. And it doesn't stop there. It stops there in your mind, because those are the limitations of how you perceive life and all of things, and how even your mind sees it. Now you have to go into the ethers of the things that you can't feel, touch, see, or experience, into the field of the Fae, or the ethers, of the realms that is scary because you feel like you're not part of it, right? And you give credit to the other beings that are on that realm. The good, the bad, the ugly, the demons, the angels, right? The fairies, right? System. I'm not here to work with people and trying to make people believe me. I'm not interested in that. I've done that for a very long time as an acupuncturist, and working with people with just pain management, and I'll continue to do so in that way. And I keep it like pretty simple to help them in their journey. There's nothing wrong with it. But my time is precious, just as yours. I say that in a sense, and because it's like, okay, so Marcus, so then if that's the case, how do you know? And why is it that you're here on social media using it? Then you should be in the mountains like Moses. Who said I'm not? Right? I'm not saying I am, but who said I'm not? Now, to see things a little bit different. At least is the message as I'm bringing across. I don't ascribe to titles, because then we fall into the title and it becomes like an encoding into somebody's system. Just like my name is Marcus now for the rest of your life, not mine. I'm Marcus, right? And that's okay, but then people get stuck in that loop. So that's not my purpose. So yeah, I practice acupuncturist, and I have to relate that to people, and I'm an acupuncturist. But once you get to really know me, that's just a title, so that we could have gotten the message across, and you already know how I work with you. Well, same thing. So I just want to just mention this meaning: ascended masters. All of the, no, I don't want to say all of them. A lot of the people who you're reading as far as scripture, at least the retranslations that were probably done many, many times, I don't know. They are by people who were able to tap into the more original sources, historically speaking, scripturally speaking, whatnot, and whatnot, and provable as far as other beings. And they changed the name so many times, but you can tap into them. You can tap into them. The ones that they speak about when they're not speaking of source, the creator of all creators, right? It's meant for you to understand it as code, not as a story, just so you know. And we could talk about that in another video when you're talking about scripture. The very first peel of the apple, just so you know, of scripture is to graduate beyond the story behind it. Otherwise, then you get stuck within that. And the story is meant to keep you there because they, whoever they are, they created metaphors or parables, in these scriptures, or basically scripture is kind of like codex books or allegories, because they want people who are strictly stuck on one side of the mind to get kind of like fly traps, get caught up in that story. It's kind of like protecting the purity of the deeper wisdom. And then there's others that are just believers, and they're like, yeah, we know that already. So that's why we give all the glory to be to the Creator, but only through our pastor, or through our mother, our nun, or only through our guru, and like let them do all the work for us, because that's how Jesus did. So we go to the pastor and whatnot. So there's nothing wrong with that. But we're splitting in a sense where we're graduating. There's many of us that are graduating now and understanding the depth of that they needed to experience that. I say we, and now we're expanding, not cutting it off. We're expanding. So the separation for some may sound like you're separating. Now you're gonna die. You're gonna go to heaven. That's it. Everything's forgotten. But you did that here, and it sucks. You did that here. You came here, you veiled yourself, and you became an infant, and you incarnated here. And now as you are awakening, not becoming more conscious, because if you're just becoming more conscious, you're not going to understand what I'm saying, and that's okay. This message is not for you, but if you want to keep hearing, good, because it's something for you to start working with and having your personal conflict, or having conflict with me, which doesn't really belong to me. You get me? So many of us are now remembering how to see scripture in everything. Not limited to words, not limited from the minds of other, mostly men that they're presenting to you. A lot of the females that got taken out of scripture, there's 90-something%, 97-98% written by only males on purpose. That wasn't an accident. They want you to stay with the sick patriarchy. So it's not to condemn, it's not to judge. And who cares about who judges you once you understand, right? Even if you're just becoming more conscious, you start to understand that. So now's the time to go deeper for those that are willing, able to go deeper with you. There are people who they have been coined as ascended masters. Who cares about the title for those who are living with remembrances of ascending? It's because one that remembers how to descend and ascend even in the microcosm of our experiences of our lower mind down here, doing horrible things when we were young or whatever the case is, and then having the choice of not. That's expanded. It just keeps expanding. It's not limited to your mind. You already have the blueprint. So if you're ready, able to go deeper, and you resonate with me, hit me up and we can schedule consultations, because it's time for you to start galvanizing with others that are working alongside for the highest good, because your highest good is always equivalent and always resonate. It always amplifies. For your personal highest good is also the highest good of all beings the same. And if you saw that right there, let's connect.